Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my mid-season VCT Awards. Going to go through the same, I think it's 5 awards. Yeah, 5 that I went through at the end of last season. And I'm going to make this video right at the middle of the season, like a low point in the schedule right now. I was just kind of thinking of random video ideas to do while I've been bored. I also do want to talk about the fact that I have been streaming a lot more recently. I've been multi-streaming on both YouTube and Twitch, testing all that stuff out. So if you guys are interested in me potentially doing some VOD reviews, I'll play some Minecraft, do whatever, just play random games. Maybe if I can uh, see if it works in terms of like with my internet and the FPS, I'll play some ranked as well. We'll just have to wait and see for some of that kind of stuff. But what I know I'm gonna do is I'm going to do some VOD reviews of these playoff matches. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. I'm gonna be trying to stream a lot more. I've streamed 3 days in a row already as of recording this, so look out. Is all I'm saying. I'm gonna start doing that a lot more. So if you're interested, go check that out. Link to my Twitch is in the description, and I should be live on this channel right here. Probably as this video comes out, I'll probably do some more VOD reviews today or something like that. But we'll just have to wait and see. Well, I know I'm gonna do some VOD reviews today. I just don't know when exactly. But at some point today, when this video comes out, I will be doing that. But as for this video, um, we need to look at these awards. So I'm going to be doing my all-world team, basically just building the best team you possibly can of how players played this year. And ooh, do I want to change this actually? No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't want to change this. Um, maybe I do. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But we'll do all-world team, just one player from each role. I do have an IGL in there. MVP, obviously, coach of the year, rookie of the year, and then like my most improved slash breakout player, which that one specifically, this is a player that is not a rookie. So they have to have played last year in VCT at least. So that's kind of the parameters for that one. But we'll get right into the all world team right here. But before that, just make sure if you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, everything like that really helps me out. As well as go check out my Twitter. Links in the description if you're interested of what I think about maybe some of the lower ranked players in all of these regions. I do have weekly player rankings up on Twitter. I haven't updated it for playoffs. I'm going to wait until after Toronto to update them, and then I'll update it weekly during stage 2. So go check that out. Also, I mean, as teams get eliminated during stage 2, I might be doing some roster rebuilds, maybe one for each region and one in Pacific, Americas, and EMEA. So go check that out as well if you're interested in that. And yeah, let's get right into it. So we'll start with my all-world team, which we'll start with Giacomo as the duelist player. And that's pretty safe as a bet. I mean, there's some other guys in contention, I think, for some of the other regions. Like, I think you have maybe like one guy from each region, maybe a couple in certain other ones. Like, you have Durka in EMEA. I don't think Camo's been good enough because he's the only other guy that's made an international event. I don't think he's been good enough to put in that duelist slot. And then there's some other guys who've played well regionally, but again, didn't make that international event in like Zeus, Miniboo, Kayak, all those guys. I think maybe you could say some of those are in contention, but I wouldn't. America's you got like Zekin, maybe Amada, but Zekin didn't play particularly well at Bangkok, and Amada hasn't made an international event. Plus, Giacomo made that final. Yeah, Hyunmin, Buzz. I think Buzz is really the only other one that I would consider here. I almost did because I felt like I was being a little bit too G2 heavy, but I think the individuals on G2 have just been so far clear of every other team in the world that it was kind of hard to not put Giacomo here. But I do also think Kang is in contention. I think I said Hyunmin for Pacific. I mean, you could even say Jemkin for Pacific just because of how well he's played regionally. But yeah. Then for Flash Initiator, I put Kicks. I really did consider putting Jonah, but again, like I didn't feel comfortable putting Chronicle, even though I think he's played really well. Just because he really isn't a. I mean, he is a Flash. He just hasn't gone to an international, so it's kind of hard to do that. Like I mean, in Americas, you have like Narrate, but I don't think he's been as much of a flash initiator lately. Art Scene, I think it's just been a little bit like too half to half inconsistent to put in ahead of Kicks. Like Kicks has had some bad games, but I think overall he's been really, really good for this team. Has been an insane clutch player. Um, Izu I almost put then, but then I realized that he hasn't played much flash initiator, and Stacks is more of that kind of guy on that team, so I couldn't really fit him in there. But I think if you were to say, okay, well, if I'm just going to build the best team possible, maybe Izu would be in there as the flash initiator and have him play that role. And then I mean, I don't really think there's anybody in China that I'd put for that. So I think it had to be Kicks or Jonah P. And I just went with Kicks ever so slightly just because I had already three G2 players in the team anyways. So I couldn't really change those either. And then I think for Scan Initiator and Controller, I think these are pretty easy. Like maybe you would argue, like, I don't even know who else you'd argue. Like Rien's played really well regionally, but I don't know. He hasn't been like super dominant as of late. Maybe Verno. Uh Maybe, I mean, again, Izu for this role. Uh I wouldn't really think about anybody in China either. So yeah, I mean, this one has to be Trent because he has been so dominant this year. We will talk about him again later in this video. That's how good he's been. So, and then I think Valen has pretty clearly been the best IGL. Obviously, Stacks beat him in a head-to-head in a final, but I do think in terms of overall on the year and just as a pure caller, I think Valen has been the best IGL. I think you could maybe fit in a Boaster. I think that would be the one where like I would say, okay, yeah, you haven't made an international, but he has been probably the best caller. Um, but I wouldn't really put anybody else in this tier. Like I would not put John. I mean, FNS probably would have been in contention at the beginning of the year. Art Scene has been pretty good, but I don't think he's been that great. Then you got like Fallen, Yampi. I mean, Safe has made an international, but I feel like he's far from that. Nats was another player that I considered instead of Meteor in this all world team. But I ended up going with Meteor instead just because he has won an international event, and it kind of felt wrong to exclude T1 players from this list just because I feel like that team is so individually good, and that's what makes them good. Even though Meteor hasn't had the greatest year in terms of his standard, I do think it is better than maybe like he did beat Leaf in a head to head in the final, and I think he was better in that game. I think Leaf maybe overall as a whole has been better, but at specifically Bangkok, I think Meteor was probably one of the better players. Now Izu did get robbed of the MVP at that event, but Meteor did technically win that. So he was amazing at that event, and I think that's kind of what carries him to this spot because you got like a Leaf, Nats, like Les I don't think has been quite as dominant. Chichu. Maybe Chichu should have been this one. But I think he's on a similar level to Meteor. He was better at that event, but Meteor did end up winning. So I'm gonna slightly go Meteor over Chichu. I kind of forgot about Chichu, but if you say Chichu got robbed here, I don't fully disagree, honestly. So we already talked about him a little bit, but Trent will be my MVP so far. I just think he has been the most dominant player in the world so far. Like you could say maybe a Chichu or something has been better. Like in terms of carrying their team, like I think there's some other players that maybe fit into that. But I just think Trent, in terms of individual dominance, has been the best player in the world. Number one player in Americas in terms of like VLR rating so far in stage one. Obviously, I'm not the biggest stats guy, but I'm just gonna throw some stuff in here just to show it. I think he's been stuck in Teo jail all of stage one. I think he's played. I mean, how much Sova has he even played this year? Trent. Go back 90 days. He's played 9 games of Sova in the past 90 days with 35 games of Teo, which is crazy. But he hasn't played any other agent in stage 1. It's been just Teo. Um, he played a little bit of Sova at Bangkok. But largely G2's been sticking to the same archetype of comp with the Teo Breach, the Smoker, and then some kind of Sentinel with the Yaru. And he has been kind of stuck in that Teo jail. Now, is Teo a bad role for a player with great aim? No. I think you've seen some players that have been maybe playing Sentinel and trying to like flex out to other stuff a little bit, playing it a little bit, maybe some duelist players, just because you just got to put the rockets down, maybe stun somebody, maybe drone something. But I do think he is immaculate at this agent in terms of the timing and everything like that. Um, and I think he's approaching like Leo levels of perfection, where like you watch Leo and it's like you want to copy all of the decision making, all of the utility, everything that Leo does. Trent is like almost there. I don't think he's quite as perfect, but he's getting there. And with like his clutches and stuff like that, I think he's kind of just. I mean, he might be there already. Like some of the stuff that he was pulling off, I forget who it was against. It was I know it was on Icebox. I think it was against Sen when they lost that game. Just the stuff that he was pulling off on that map was insanity, even though they ended up losing it. Um, like how many? Maybe it was just the one clutch. No, he had two 1v3s and a 1v1 win in that map. Just absurd. He was really the only reason that map was close. He also won a 1v2 in that series as well on Split. He's just unbelievably good, and he just passes the eye test as well to me in terms of just that like elite player in the world. Now, do I think he'll hold on to this award throughout the year? Probably not. I would favor some other like duelist players to kind of pass him up here in terms of just being a pure like stats farming and stuff like that, and maybe other teams making it to international finals and stuff like that. I would probably favor other players rather than him, even players on his own team like Leaf and uh, Jogamo. But as of right now, I think it's Trent to me as the MVP. He also, it does help that he is part of probably the second most dominant team this year in terms of G2 making it and winning America's kickoff and then getting it second at Masters Bangkok. Wow, I cannot speak for those last two things. I don't know. Um, but yeah, let me know who you guys would have as your MVP because this it did take me a little bit, but I think Trent was kind of the first name that came to mind for me. All right, and now onto the coach of the year, who I have is Lohan. I mean, I know a lot of people don't really think about the coach of the year award too much, but I do like giving this out because I do think it kind of shows the teams and players that like, or not the players, the coaches that like improve the most on especially young rosters that don't have a ton of expectations, which was Liquid heading into the year. They were kind of like a mid-tier team, like eighth to sixth is where you'd usually see them in a lot of power rankings. Um, and yeah, I didn't really believe in this roster too much personally, but Lohan made a great team out of them. Having multiple players in terms of role swaps like Kiko, Nats, even if you count him transitioning to IGL, um, like bringing in a bunch of new guys. Like I think the only two players from last year were Kiko and Nats, right? Yeah. And then bringing in Kamek, kind of having a role swap, but I think he was mainly playing like Flash Initiator last year, and is now playing Scan Initiator for this team. Also having to make roster changes with Serial coming in, and like even still not having the best roster in EMEA, still making a great team out of it, I think is amazing. This team has brought out some great comps in terms of this meta, and switched it up when they've needed to switch it up. Like their Lotus comp, I think is really cool. Um, their split comp transitioning. I don't know if this was exactly what they were playing before. I don't. I think it is actually. Never mind. In terms of changing that, but like I'm pretty sure they were playing something different on Fracture, but now playing the Vise and the Neon on the same map, switching it up to more of a like getting rid of the Haven when they needed to, I guess. Playing the double Sentinel on Ascent, kind of finding a new identity mid-season with this team, as well as having a good identity at the beginning of the season. Also, this team has made massive improvements throughout tournaments. If you go look at kickoff, they didn't start very well against Koi, Foot, Apex, all played really poorly in those games. But then as the tournament went on after that, they slowly started to improve until they made it to Bangkok, which was crazy. Then stage one comes around. They don't start very well. And then they adapt, make that new identity, as I said before, and beat Foot, Koi, destroy both those teams, and then are currently a map up over Carmine Core, I guess. I don't know exactly um, what is going on with that game, whether they're going to reset it or not. But I mean, they've been playing very well as of late, with a team I didn't really expect too much out of, honestly. And with that, especially with that mid-tournament improvement and like the anti-stratting he's brought out, I think Lohan deserves to be the coach of the year. Now into my rookie of the year, and this might be kind of a hot take because I feel like he got a ton of attention heading into Bangkok. Didn't perform super great, but was still pretty good at that event. And I mean, DRX specifically didn't perform super great, so it kind of just took some of the attention off of him. But since then, has been also playing very, very well. And I think some of your other rookies of the year have been playing really well as of late as well. But I think Hyunmin's been playing better, honestly. Like you got candidates like Verno. Uh, I'm just looking through. Like Sociable, I think kind of is in EMEA, but that's just kind of my bias maybe. Kayak. Um, I'm just trying to find names. Kicks isn't no Sivov, as was at the beginning, but probably not as much as of late. Abez has been playing really well for Carmine Core. Uh, Other America's names: Mata, Luke Show has been getting a ton of attention. Cortesia was another guy that I considered. Genom. And then in Pacific, you got guys like uh, who is it? Freeing, even on his own team. There's another guy in Pacific, Cushy. Cushy was another guy that I very heavily considered for this award. Even some of like the global guys like Crystal, who has been playing well, but as of late, the team has been playing super great, so you can't really do that. And some of the boom guys like Famous. I was gonna say Jemkin, but he's not a rookie anymore. Just there's a ton of different like candidates for this award, but I do think Hyunmin overall has been the most dominant player. Won Pacific Kickoff, did decently well at Bangkok. Didn't do super great, but was good. Top 3 in ACS at both Pacific Kickoff and during Stage 1. And just very consistently, single-handedly wins rounds for DRX. And I think that's the biggest thing from Hyunmin, where he can play pretty much all the duelists. The Neon that he played in playoffs recently wasn't super great. I just watched that game. It was fine, but it wasn't like to the level that his Raze, Jet, and Yoru are at. You'd like to see maybe some of those agents get a little bit better, or not some of those. You'd like to see Neon get on par with some of those agents, but overall, it's not a huge deal. He is still so unbelievably good. I think he has an insane future with this team. And unlike last year, I think DRX should be keeping some of their rookies, and that some is pretty much just Hyunmin. And freeing. But like they definitely need to be keeping some of these guys in the next year, unlike last year, where I do think they should have kept them, but they ended up just fully rebuilding around Mako and I believe Flashback. Obviously, they did keep Bane, but that was after kind of messing around with other stuff as well. So Hyunmin is my pick currently. I would expect him to keep this personally. This is not like my MVP award where I think Trent isn't going to keep it throughout the rest of the year. I also think Lohan probably will keep his Liquid one as long as Liquid makes one more international event, which I wouldn't be shocked about. But like you do have a ton of other contenders, so I wouldn't be shocked if Hyunmin gets passed up. But overall, I do think he is the front runner, and I do think he will continue to keep this award. Oh, also Zeus in the MEA. I totally forgot about Zeus. He is also very much in contention for this award, and he'd probably be my next pick, honestly. And now onto my last award, which is my breakout player / most improved player of the year. And it's going to be Izu for me, I think, pretty clearly. I think in terms of this role, he has been the best player in this role. Like you, or not in this role, in this award specifically. Like if you take players that are very much improved from last year, and you rank them on how good that player specifically is, I think you would get Izu. You could also get players like Kiko, not Vic. Oh, Vic, I forgot to list for my rookies in Americas. He was like my third pick after that. But like you have maybe a Pancata, a maybe a Ye even at this point, but I think I'd need to see more from Ye. He might end up getting there if EG do end up beating G2 in this upcoming game. But you got a bunch of different guys like that in this kind of area. There's a bunch more that I could list. I'm not going to list all of them, but he's just been one of the best clutch players in the world for me, at least. Top 5 in VLR rating at Masters Bangkok. Played 3 different roles for T1 this year. He's played a lot of Initiator, a lot of Sentinel, and a lot of Duelist, and being a big part in those T1 double Duelist comps. Been a great opper as well as a great rifler. He's been so unbelievably good for this team. They got second at Pacific Kickoff, and he did win Masters Bangkok, which is a big part of him winning this award so far. I would expect him to win this award as long as T1 make another international event, which I would be shocked if they don't. But I mean, there is a ton of other talent in this award that could pass him up. So, I mean, if another team breaks out in stage 2 this year and is really, really good, I think you could maybe see a player on that team kind of pass up Izu. Maybe a Crashies could have a good redemption year and pass up Izu. Maybe I mean, if NRG makes a comeback, Ethan, Som, FNS even, players like that, any of the EG guys, really. Like, there's a ton of different players that are eligible for this award for me, but I think Izu so far is the winner. I would expect maybe somebody to pass him up, though, personally. So, with that, that'll be the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below of all the awards. I forgot that my left arrow key is my what's it called? My stop recording button. So yeah, these are my awards. This is my all world team. MVP Trent, Coach of the Year Lohan, Rookie of the Year Hyunmin, and Breakout Player of the Year Izu. Ignore that random cut, but yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.